Welcome to the Right to Reason podcast. I am your immortal host, Robert Stanley. Today, we are debating racist comedy. Recently, you may have heard I was diagnosed with a blood clot, and the doctor said it was fairly serious and life-threatening, but after some recoup time, I'm feeling a lot better, and I appreciate all your kindness and support throughout this time. So in case you haven't figured it out yet, after some hard time off, we're back.
You might never heard it before, but
It's the Right to Reason podcast.
Let's do this, motherfuckers.
here it comes.
The Right to Reason podcast.
This is the Right to Reason podcast.
This is Dogma Debate with co-host Michael Regilio.
No, it's not.
This is the Right to Reason.
These motherfuckers tried to kill me!
Welcome back, Robert. I can't say I missed you whatsoever.
The right to reason
will never
will
die.
never die.
By the way, we just hit the top 10 atheist podcast list. Check it out on Google. Really, type in top 10 atheist podcasts. You're going to see the Right to Reason. I'm very honored. This was just what I needed to get my confidence back. And we're back to kick some ass.
This is the Right to Reason podcast.
Good morning, Michael. Good morning, everyone. It was just a few months ago that Louis C.K. was accused of sexual misconduct. And now, as he tries to make a comeback, he's back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons.
You're not interesting because you went to a high school where kids got shot. Why does that mean I have to listen to you?
Louis C.K. is back in hot water after this audio leak where he's heard mocking survivors of mass shootings.
You didn't get shot. You pushed some fat kid in the way. And then now I gotta listen to you talking?
Audience members can be heard cheering on the comedian, but on the outside, some outraged.
Can't you have an asshole who's black? Can't you have a killer who's gay without it becoming a depiction of that entire, subgroup?
Some white dudes you cut in front of don't play that shit though, right? You cut in front of them. All right, cut the shit. Just cut the fucking crap. Hold on. I love when white dudes get mad and cuss, right? Because y'all some funny motherfuckers when you cuss. Right? They be saying shit like, yeah, come on, peckerhead. Come on, you fucking jerk off. Come on. Son of a bitch, come on. You fucking ain't right, buddy. Niggas be talking about, buddy this.
I know I'm a racist. You know how I know? The other day I caught myself being racist against myself. There's so much going on, I got mixed up. Forgot whose team I was on.
Gonna kick in your hotel door to make your bed besides some little Mexican woman who has an ethic. She has to make your bed. I have to make, hello, and she knocks and she fucking punches the door and she scares the shit out. She kicks the fucking door and the chain is on. Hello, and you're like, miss, the chain is on. I'm alive. The chain's on the door. You don't have, ma'am, please. Look, please, I must make your bed. I must make your bed. I must make your bed. Please, please. Please. Oh. You pull out a fucking Ideal Mio shit. Please. And she's trying to squeeze in through the space, through the chain space. Like, hello.
What I'm talking about is the kind of repercussion where you choose to say something that, like, traumatizes a person who's already been victimized, and then I choose to call you a dick, and that's the repercussion.
So Shelton was up there and he was talking about African American this, African American that, all right? And I turned it to Quan, I'm like, damn, man, I don't never call you African American. He goes, cause I ain't, player. I'm like, for real? What's the difference? Well, African Americans are usually light-skinned brothers who are mad at the world because everybody talks Spanish to them thinking they're Puerto Rican. I had no idea. He's like, yeah, that's why I'm black. I'm like, hell yeah, you are. Your dark is nice, son. I thought that was a cave sitting on my couch. Damn. T, I can sprinkle salt on you. Look like deep space, player. Fool, you're a screensaver. Ah! He's like, oh, you making fun of me, huh? I tell you, I ain't as dark as the shadow you're casting from that big ass gut of yours. When was the last time you saw your junk, Ralphie May? I'm like, all right, man, that hurt. Especially when I saw it last night in the reflection of your mama's forehead. Bye!
This episode of the Right to Reason podcast is brought to you by our patrons and contributors like me. We have all recognized the value of the unrestrained marketplace of ideas and have decided to make a difference. You can make a difference too. Contribute at patreon.com/right and learn more about your right to reason at therighttoreason.com. Your activism is appreciated.
All right, here we go. And I've added some, I'm going to try something cool. I'm going to add in music when I intro you guys to make it sound awesome.
Ooh,
that's my speaker firing up. I know, right? I feel so fucking cool right now. All right, we are connected. We're ready to go. All right, here we go. Uh-oh. So corny. Sorry. All right, here we go. Amy with a Y from I Date Me and Secular Soup. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Also, we're joined by Javier. Javier, say it twice. Don't say it thrice, or he will show up behind you with a knife.
Yeah, I'm straight.
Javier from the Javier Show. Also, Emerson Green from Counter Apologetics and Walden Pod. Thank you, man. And we got Shawn Yankey from the Shawn Yankey Show. All your conspiracy theories get answered on that, the Shawn Yankey Show. And also, the biggest star of the show today, he's famous, he's funny, Michael Regilio from michaelregiliocomedy.com and from sorrybouteverything.com. Thank you all for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Was that too loud? I felt like it was too loud.
No.
Right.
I didn't think it was. I really didn't. That was an honest opinion.
Did it sound cool?
I thought it did.
I felt good about it. I'll be honest with you guys.
It felt good to me.
Did you know that there's actually like music on the internet, and what you can do is you record an intro that you use for every episode, and it's just...
Is that a thing?
It is.
Do people do
You should
that?
look into it. Then you don't have to worry about it last minute every single episode. Just letting you know.
I felt like I hyped Michael up way too much. Like I just said everybody's name, like here's Amy, Shawn, Javier's here, and Michael Regilio. You know, like
I'd like for you to add hardest working motherfucker in show business to the beginning of mine. Then, if you're going to call him famous,
well, me too.
What was I supposed to call you, Javier? I was supposed
Everybody needs to be hyped up more. Yeah, yes.
That's it.
All right, I'm going to play you guys real quick just to start us off with the topic about comedy. What about if your comedy is making fun of another race? Is that bad? Who's that? I think he's Korean. I'm not good with Asian races and what country they're from.
Oh,
but I think Michael is it Yo or something? But anyway, he's like he does jokes about Asians, and then recently a whole bunch of people got offended, and we're like, hey, you can't make fun of Asians. And he's like, but I'm fucking Asian. I'm just telling you my life story, and I'm adding some sounds that or some the dialect. I'm adding the nuance of my culture to it. It shouldn't be bad.
I don't think he should have to explain himself at all.
Yeah, I mean, black guys do it all the time. Black guys make fun of black people constantly. The famous Chris Rock bit. Want a cookie?
I think it's totally fine to do that. I think the second part of that, if a white guy did it, is correct also, though. Like it's different depending on. Yeah.
What about Ralphie May?
Who?
Ralphie May, that big fat
he was
dude.
A pretty big comic. literally and figuratively. But he covered race, but he covered other races, which is courageous. You don't see anybody do.
I mean, okay.
Well, here's
do you? Well, who?
I mean, I'm not saying it should be against the law to do it. I'm saying that you're crossing a line where
it uses, it tackles racist issues of other races in their bit.
Daniel Tosh will go after every race.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate Daniel Tosh. Like,
I love
You hate Daniel Tosh?
Oh,
I hate him,
God's
but not
sakes.
because he's
Smuggest
racist.
motherfucker. I can't even watch him.
I just think he's corny, but I don't...
He is a smug asshole. Yeah.
I heard that.
I'm guessing I have different
bit,
views than the
though.
rest of you do on this.
It's a bit.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to play
No,
Michael...
anybody can joke about anything they want to. It's just what happens. What kind of reception do you get after that?
Right. My take is always that it's like, oh, a comedian you didn't like, whose show you didn't buy a ticket to, said something you don't like. Well, who gives a fuck? You weren't in the room. It wasn't for you. That's my take.
Yeah.
Like, it's leaked audio of Louis C.K. doing a new bit, and everyone's like, "Oh, fuck this guy!" It's like, wait, you don't like him anyway.
But the Louis C.K. thing, it's fuck him because he's a fucking monster, not because his
Should
jokes
his
are
life
bad.
be over
Like,
though because of
my point
forever he can't work again?
I mean,
for the people in the room.
I'm the wrong person to ask. Yeah.
Why?
Is this the guy who was asking for consent to masturbate to women?
Allegedly. Part of the story is that
No.
he didn't always
No,
do
he
it.
did it. He said
He
did it.
asked. No, but instead of asking for consent, what he did is put women in a highly fucking awkward position that they couldn't really do anything about, and then they decided to quit comedy because he's a huge name, and that's anyway.
We also
It's something women
witnessed
deal with a lot.
I just want to point out we just witnessed the only person in America that asked who Louis C.K. is. Congratulations.
What was that?
Here's-
right after correcting me on comedy.
Here's my take. I think we should force Louis C.K. to have to watch someone masturbate in front of him. And then he can come back
I like
after
that.
he pays the price.
He never forced
the guy
anyone.
who's
He never forced anyone.
Okay, I want to play. I want to play
He
Michael
asked.
Regilio. This is some of
Conspiracy.
this is some of Michael's stand up. I'm going to play for you guys real quick. Hold on. It's an old one, Mike.
I know which clip you're playing. I accept it.
You're gonna pay for this.
Hey guys, start off with a little good news. Murder rate in Los Angeles going down. It's $300 now. So that's gonna sound a little strange, but as of late, I have gotten really into leaf blowers, by which I mean Canadian prostitutes. I'm having fun. You guys, I'm loving the holiday. In fact, the other night I had my best show to date. I haven't heard you killed it and you crushed it so many times since that dog sitting misunderstood.
That is horrible. I did not find that
I
funny.
like to say I'm married to the sea. I'm referring to my wife. I don't want to say the whole word because,
It's a little hard to hear.
No, okay, this girl came to me recently and said, I want to have your baby. I said, I don't know. I just found that thing.
That's pretty good.
Give me a month. Maybe I'll give it to you.
This is my favorite part, Mike, right here. It's Big J. Okerson.
Yes, Michael.
Very funny jokes. Hi, I'm Joe. Good to meet you, buddy. Very funny jokes.
Oh, thank you very much.
Very tight.
Oh.
Yeah. Michael, very funny, and you look like a hot chick in a laundromat.
He said you look like a hot chick in a laundromat. I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, you were performing before. Was it the Legion of Skanks, or were they just there?
They were just there. That's a show that they have at the Comedy Store called Kill Tony.
Oh, okay, cool. So with comedy, is it like one of those things where you slam back a couple whiskeys, you're feeling pretty good, and then you feel the heat of the light and you're immediately paralyzed?
No, I mean, it's changed over the years, but when it first started, yeah, pound a few whiskeys, get on stage. Then once you start to get a little more confident, you realize that the whiskey's hampering you more than helping you, and you cut back on the pounding the few whiskeys. But in the early days, yeah, definitely needed a few drinks to get up there.
That's interesting. Did it actually hurt you?
What's that?
I said I haven't gotten to the point where tired of whiskey.
You do comedy too, Javier?
Oh yeah, I'm a comedian, man.
No
I do it all.
way. I didn't know that, dude.
Yeah, The comfort of my own home, man. I tell jokes all the time.
Say something funny real quick right now. Right this second.
All right.
Do a bit.
What did the black guy say to the white guy?
I don't know.
You kept laughing while I tell a joke.
What did he say?
He said, "That's racist."
It's kind of funny.
That's good.
It's not funny.
All right, so these guys, this is the whole way this whole show got started. Originally, Michael Regilio was going to be debating a libertarian dude. The libertarian guy was afraid after he looked up Michael Regilio doing a lot of debating on Dogma Debate, or I think now it's called David C. Smalley podcast. But lots of times I've noticed Smalley will have somebody on, and if it's, correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike, but I feel like if it's like politics or science or something, he kind of leans toward you a little, and he's like, "Can you take over real quick? Because this motherfucker, like, I'm not ready for all that." And then you'll slam him with it. Is that a fair characterization?
Well, in my opinion, yes, but I would say David would disagree. I think David just understands we have different strengths. You know, I've done a little more, I think, just studying of history, and so he'll lean on me for that. But his ideology is solid. He knows where he's coming from. So
yeah. He's good with the like Bible stuff, logic arguments. Have you ever debated like a conspiracy dude? Like if you ever talked to
I did a
Shawn
pandemic
Yankey.
denier, a guy that didn't believe in, I mean, just basic, you know, nowadays it's becoming very common, but 4 months ago, this was a guy that thought face masks were bullshit, that the pandemic was bullshit.
They are bullshit. It is bullshit.
And, well,
here we go.
There you go. That was the kind of person I debated. And
What the fuck do you mean kind of person?
Oh, come on.
The type of person that would take what
Believe in facts?
No, what I was going to
Yeah.
say. Well, I would require a moment to finish my thought there. That,
Go ahead.
It's a
Thank
comedy episode.
Well, he's fucking being ridiculous. Talk. No one's stopping you.
I was simply going to say the kind of person that does not have expertise in any given field, but
Why do I need expertise when I can listen to someone else
shut
that
the fuck
does?
up.
Fuck you.
Yeah, if this is how it's gonna go, I'm just gonna leave. I have other things to do.
What if we switch it up? Let's not hold each other accountable for the last couple seconds. It got heated. All right, so Michael Regilio was being insulted by Big J Okerson. My whole plan was that I started playing other stuff from Legion of Skanks. If anybody's not familiar with their podcast, it's just a podcast that they just say horrible things. I mean, basically, who was the dude that used to smash watermelons? Gallagher, thanks. Yeah, like you go to a Gallagher show, you expect there to be like stupid things like smashing watermelons and woo-ho-ho-ho, you know, and all acting crazy and stuff. That's the bit. And their bit on their show is to say things that are offensive. That's the whole plan. They're not even like all white, you know, and they have black guys on. They have different races on. I was about to say women. I don't think they ever have any women on, now that I think about it. But anyway, whatever. I'm just saying that's their show.
Women aren't funny. It's fine.
That's what Hitch said, right? Christopher Hitchens said.
Yeah, I said women aren't funny. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I want to play a quick clip from probably the most offensive podcast. It's the most offensive podcast I know of, honestly, aside from anything by Sean Hannity. But this is this is a quick clip. I'm actually just so you guys know, they do use the N-word regularly. I'm going to bleep that out for the audience.
Don't bleep it out.
Well, some people might not want to hear it.
Video of the old woman being kicked on the subway.
All right, so they're talking about the video. There's an old lady getting kicked on the subway. She's black. The guy that's kicking her is black, and they start making fun of it. And it gets a little offensive. They call her Mrs. Buttersworth. Isn't that a thing? Where I think they had to take the face of the syrup or pancake lady off or something. I think that's a thing.
Aunt Jemima.
Aunt Jemima. That's what it was.
Jemima.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
You haven't seen this, Jay?
Oh, dude, this is fucked, man. Yeah.
So hold on.
Jay, it's not that bad.
Who do you think wins?
Play the video.
Jay.
What?
Jay, all right, I'll give you odds on this.
What are you asking me?
Old woman sitting down versus black guy standing above her.
I'll give you odds.
Who
wins? Us.
The fans.
Us right now.
Can you play the UFC music over this? Just the old school?
I think, and feel free to interrupt as we go, I can pause it, but I feel like when he said us, he's talking about white people. It was a different dude that said the fans. I think the whole bit was when black people kill each other or hurt each other, white people win. which,
Yeah, that's the joke.
It's a joke because it's something you're not supposed to say. It's offensive, but also,
right.
Is that a fucked up thing to say? Should we not be making those jokes?
I thought he just meant the audience.
Sometimes
I thought he meant the audience.
He meant white people. Robert Trump.
I thought he meant themselves, like they.
Isn't this finally?
Yeah, the people watching it.
Maybe. All right, here we go.
Get me on World Star Hip Hop this part of year.
Oh, that's what he says on the way out.
He'll say, watch.
What? Bro, it's nuts.
He just starts kicking her in the face repeatedly.
Refuses to punch. And the guy in the back going, nah. World Star that.
Nigga.
All right, there's the best part, I thought.
Hold on. Pause that.
He bleeped that.
Pause that. This is how weird censorship is. He goes, he's just kicking a woman in the face, which YouTube is totally okay with, and then he goes, World Star that might, and they cut the N-word because that's...
All right, right there. That's interesting, isn't it? That we're okay with watching violence, but we cut the N-word.
Yeah, it's the same in movies.
Yeah,
it's the same. It's the same thing with hip hop music. Hip hop can say all kind of crap, violence, drugs, guns, name it. You can say the N-word, but as soon as a man says, "Hey, I drugged a woman," then it's like, "Oh no, you can't say that." But what about all the other crap? You know what I mean? Like, and
can Slim Shady say it? Does he ever? No, can Slim? What's his? Marshall Mathers.
Eminem.
No.
Eminem. Yeah. Does he ever say that?
He won't. Kid Rock does.
Kid Rock.
He does it for other reasons.
No,
I can't be friends with a white guy who won't say the N-word. Me personally, I won't.
I won't say you can't be my friend.
Well, then we can't be friends, then, Mr. Yankee.
Damn it!
Why can't you be friends with someone that won't say it, Javier?
Because I see every individual as an equal human being, and I'm not going to say something that I can't tell another person they can't say. That's ridiculous.
That's fine. But I mean, what if there was like, okay, what if I had some kind of sexual abuse in my past, right? I really didn't like to hear ass fucking jokes or something, because when I was a kid, my uncle stuck his thumb up my butt or something. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, that's something personal about me, and you're my friend, and then you go out of your way to avoid bringing that topic up because that would trigger me, and we don't have to use the liberal political correct term trigger. You would know that would fuck me up a little bit. That would make my day would be shitty, and you go out of your way to try not to say something offensive to me, and then I say, man, you're just not being real with me. You won't make homophobic jokes. You won't talk about pedophilia when you're around me, and I don't like that. Like, I would feel like that's a betrayal. Like, you're going out of your way to be respectful.
Ask any therapist. The best way to overcome a fear or a trauma is to slowly expose yourself to it. You don't run and hide from something. And honestly, I personally feel like if you have some kind of issue with a certain thing, I probably wouldn't be your friend in the first place because I'm just not attracted to something.
Really?
But aren't you?
What if I'm honest that it's white guilt? What if I'm honest that it's white guilt is the reason I won't say it?
Well, I will help you overcome your white guilt.
Then we can be friends.
Yeah, I'm that type of friend. I'm a good.
One day
friend.
I might be able to say it.
Like, what if? Don't you feel? I feel like that's just another way to say that you're telling someone else. You're kind of policing their language at the same time. You're telling them what they should say, what they have to say.
Oh no!
I mean,
no,
is
I'm
that?
saying if
I don't.
My friend. You have to say it. If you don't want to be my friend, you can say whatever the hell you want.
You probably should say respect.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get to a place. I'm trying to get to a place where if you want to see me as your equal, treat me like an equal. I don't want to be separated or treated like the other. And the part of doing that is, if I'm going to say something out my mouth, you should be able to say it just as much as I can.
Emerson, what's your take on the N-word? Is it free speech, or is it let's just try not to say something that has a history of subjectifying one group of people based on their race?
To be honest, I don't really have anything interesting to say about it. I mean,
all right,
I don't
thank you. Emerson Green.
Trying to get that man in trouble.
He's like foot not going in mouth.
Here's my thing. If I'm talking to someone that isn't offended by it, then saying it's not a problem, because it's a noise. It's a noise I make with my mouth. You change one letter and it's the word bigger. But if I'm saying it to a group of people, or I think it goes the same for if I'm saying it on the podcast, because this is more or less a marketplace, right? That people can access this, and they might not be expecting that kind of thing. So it would be the same as saying it in public if you say it on a podcast. But if my wife and I are having a discussion about the nuance of the word, and I use that word instead of saying N-word, obviously there's nothing wrong with that. Like that it would be ridiculous to say you're not allowed to make certain
I think they're
sounds.
totally different situations.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
I can see the mob coming right now for you. Look, we can't police words. I mean, one thing that can be offensive today cannot be offensive tomorrow. We've seen this, like colored people is offensive, but now we're being called people of color. At some point, you just have to say, you know what, screw this. Say what you want to say. And look, sometimes you're going to say things and the consequences going to follow. That's part of being human. So that's a risk you got to take. But I refuse to have myself silenced by anybody, and I refuse to silence other people. And that's just the way we should be as Americans in a free country where freedom of speech is a thing.
I guess I will just say, though, that the intention matters. And in general, you just shouldn't be an asshole. And I feel like there are a lot of people who are transgressive assholes, and they're trying to make it a free speech issue when really they're just trying to be a dick and get away with it. But if someone
I agree with that.
Like when you bring up like a specific case, like that Netflix executive who was fired for saying it during a meeting or something.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't saying it to be transgressive, and I just thought that was like a huge overreaction. So I'm not sure I can articulate my view about it, but I thought that was, inappropriate that he was fired for bringing it up during a meeting or something. They were trying to decide what words you could use in comedy specials or something like that. And
well, I totally agree that a lot of it is context driven, and that a lot of times people are just going out of their way to be an asshole. And if you want to do that, great, but you're probably not going to have a lot of people listening to you or hanging out with you, or I feel like it's a different.
What makes it funny?
Exactly. The
sure.
shock
Yeah.
value
Any word you're not allowed to say.
One of the funniest bits on the Chappelle Show is the racial draft, and when they get a good pick, Bill Burr and the other guy do like a little hand gesture because the white guy's got a good pick. That's what makes that joke funny. Is that one okay?
I'm not trying to give like a systematic thing here. I'm just saying that
we just got super serious. I just was asking.
Well, I'm just saying you should take people's intent into account. And of course, any word you're not allowed to say is inherently funny. That's just the way it is from the time you're like a kid.
Yeah.
You can't avoid offending people. You just can't do it. The fact that I am an atheist, I am literally offending somebody at this very moment.
Right now.
You see? And I did that intentionally. But you just can't avoid it. It's like you can't live your life that way, trying to go out of your way to not offend anybody. I'm sorry you're offended, but that's life. Get over it. Facts don't care about feelings.
But can you spend your life trying not to be as big of a dick? Like, is that a legitimate thing to want to do?
I mean, if that's the type of person you are, but me personally, I'll go out of my way to be a dick if it gets something accomplished. I'm more about being effective than allowing people to go about and get along if it's hurting them. I think the N-word and black people controlling people being able to say it is hurting the black community more than it's actually helping them.
Mike, would you say you're at a comedy club, a white guy's up there on the stage, he's making jokes, and he uses the N-word, and let's say he uses it within some context, right? And in a way that's not necessarily intentionally, like the joke isn't about saying something bad about black people, but the word's still there. Is that crossing the line to you?
Context, again, I would have to hear the joke, but it's almost never done. It's just most comics realize, particularly coming up, why would I open that can of worms? A couple guys have tried it. It hasn't gone well. We've all watched it not go well. So it so rarely happens. But my take on the N-word is a little bit different. And I have to say, I feel like I'm friends with Javier, so this might end our friendship. Many innocent people died in lynchings and worse. And the last words they heard were a white man using that word coming out of a white mouth. And I want no connection to that history. That is the association I have, and that's why I don't use that word ever, is because it's just an ugly, disgusting history that I'm reminded of when you hear a white saying that word. And when black people say it, Javier, that's them taking back the word. When you say that, why can I say it and you can't? But that is empowerment. You say that a psychologist will say you have to face your fears. Well, I think African Americans using the word and taking it back and saying it's our word now, we use it, we own it, that is also conquering your fears in a way.
And
so
what part of that see what you just did there was you separated two groups of people based on their skin color. That is what I mean by the
talking
definition of
about.
racism.
Yeah, that's what America does every day.
Look, we can get into that.
But I'm not saying a white person can't say it. I'm saying this white person chooses not to say it.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but Michael, I also understand that you've never lynched anyone. You've never beat any black person. You're not a racist. So I don't assume when you say the N-word that you're coming from a place of hatred. Now, if you was the type of person who was trying to harm me and using the N-word, I would completely understand the different place that it's coming from. But just the word in itself does not make you a racist.
Hold on.
I understand that, but the word has become damaged goods. Why go near it? My take. I don't want any part of it, and I don't feel like a bold or brave comic if I did stand on stage and say it. And the guys I've seen, white guys that I've seen stand on stage and say it, I knew for a fact, because I knew them, they were idiots. They were low IQ dum-dums, just trying to get a little something going by being controversial. Well, I don't think that's clever or funny. I think it's just stupid.
I feel the same way, but I also feel like because of the enormity of the racism problem in America, because it is a huge fucking problem, the literal least I can do as a white person, the actual absolute least, is just not use one fucking word. Like that a lot of people have said, we don't want you to say that word. Okay, fine, I won't say it. Like why is it hard just to take that one word out of my vocabulary when so many people and people that I personally know have said that word really hurts me, I don't want to hear it. Fine.
Black people don't need your pity. Black people don't police words. Black people are people like everybody else. And
it's not pity, it's about...
You can't control
No, absolutely not.
But I can say the crack word or the redneck word, then we're not finna get in this game of
Hold on. Look, Javier.
But what if I'm...
Look, if I was Jewish, wouldn't you avoid the word kike?
Not necessarily.
You probably should, man. You should probably...
Nobody. Look, it's certain words that I use in my vocabulary. That happens to be one word that I just don't come across or never use. It's not in my vocabulary. But I'm not finna allow any person to tell me what I can and cannot say. Look, I got Jewish friends. That's fine. The word never comes up. But I don't use that word on other people. But I use the N-word. So if I use the N-word, who am I to tell somebody else they can't use the N-word? That's ridiculous.
I feel like it's overused
There's
in hip-hop.
context around words. I mean...
That's because you're putting the you're allowing the context to control the word. As soon as you let go of the past and you allow people to move forward into the future, I guarantee you, we'll all be better off for it.
Could I ask Michael a question really quick?
Sure.
So you were mentioning how there are you've seen really unfunny jokes that involve the N-word, but haven't you also seen funny jokes that involve the N-word, also coming from white comedians? Because it seems like the problem is often I think personally for myself, just in comedy, the defense, I was just joking, is a perfectly good defense. And, I feel like comedians should in principle be allowed to say whatever they want, but it has to be funny. So it's but the thing is you're often in hang on. You're often in the position though of if you think comedians should be able to say whatever they want, then you're often put in this horrible position of defending really unfunny people and unfunny jokes, which sucks.
Oh yeah. Why?
So, but there are. I mean, would you deny that there has ever been a funny bit that involved the N-word that was from a white comedian?
Deny that. I was simply speaking to. He had asked if I'm in the room. I go to obviously a lot of before the plague. I went to I was out 5-6 nights a week. And I wasn't on bills with the biggest comics in the world. I was on bills with much smaller comics. So in that field, I had seen it done, and I never saw it done effectively. Maybe on a Netflix special, a hugely famous comic might have a bit in which that works. I was just referring to people trying to come up. I find that almost always the ones that try and use that word are just doing it for the shock value. They don't actually have a clever or interesting or insightful a bit. They're just trying to get that shock out there in order to get people talking about them. That's what I was referring to. But yeah, I'm sure if you gave me a specific bit, I could give you my commentary on it. But on the whole, again, it's not a First Amendment thing. Of course, you can say anything you want, Javier. Anyone can say anything they want. I'm 100% behind that. But of course, we police how we talk. Go to the person who'd been abused by, sexually abused as a child. Wouldn't you be a compassionate person by not telling rape jokes around them, or not being overtly sexual or talking in ways that would make them uncomfortable? Of course you would.
Let me clear it up. I'm not saying. What I'm saying is, if you choose not to use a word, that's based on your choice. But your choice to not use a word shouldn't be based on the consequences that I am going to bring upon you for using it. That is by compulsion. That's two separate forms of using the word or not using the word. I'm speaking about the latter. I cannot force you to not use a word out of fear. And if that's the reason you're not using a word, that's different. But if you're choosing not to do the word based on your own, morality or values, that's a totally different situation. But there are a lot of white people who fear using the word, and that is not changing anything. They still want to say it. They're just not saying it. It doesn't change how they really feel on the inside. And as we know, you don't let these things fester. You don't let these things sit and boil down in people because you don't really know who your friends are. You don't know who your enemies are. Let people say how they feel, and they will show you who they are. And that's when you know who your enemy is.
Let me play you guys something from another bit from Legion of Skanks where they're making fun. They got a black baby doll, and they're making fun of black comedians and how they sound, but they're parading this black baby doll, on the desk in front of the camera, making these jokes. And this is about as close as you can get to racist comedy. But it's funny, because black comedians do sound like this, but at the same time, it's like maybe it's too far.
Well, you notice that they do want that though. When there's like 16 and 17-year-old kids that are looking at colleges now, and they're in this environment now, they're going like, what is the school that has the best liberal arts program? What's the school that they're going to keep fucking Nazis out of? That's the thing that young people are sort of like considering now when they're choosing the school. So. I don't.
Supposed to go. Which one has the best, engineering program or whatever?
I was going to say parties, rapeable chicks,
parties,
least black people. Not in front of your baby. I ain't going to college.
I'm gonna buy a deli, motherfucker.
Yo, you need Gatorade? Of course you do. Of course you do. Of course you do. You need me to engineer a house for you? I think not.
Let me tell you something about brothers. They walk into a deli, they want to see different colored juices. You gonna come in here showing one color juice, and then what? Motherfucker gonna walk away. You got to have at least 5 colored juices.
Engineer that.
Green apple, blue. Let me do a little bit of comedy in this college right now. I see some fine-ass white bitches out there. Oh, this girl right here look like she sucked her dick for 8 hours. Give me some of that, DJ. Oh,
all right, so he's having the black baby do a classic.
That's that new Tekashi 6ix9ine joint, right? Oh, yeah. Now, I know I'll be playing that shit when a girl come over, I'll be breaking the bitch off. The girl be like, hang on, cut it, DJ. Now, the girl be all in my house talking about like, I don't suck dick on the first date. I go, bitch, that gonna change tonight? Flat out. Oh, give me some of that, DJ.
Is that offensive?
I would go with the people in the room is who they're performing to. Their audience listens to them. They find it funny, so they find it funny. That's their audience. If they pay a societal price for it that people don't like them, that's part of the deal too. But if they're cracking the people in the room up, I guess they did their job. So I don't have a problem with what they're doing. It just isn't for me necessarily. But you perform to your audience. That's their audience.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the thing is if you're offended by it. That's kind of what you were saying earlier, right? Like it might not be for you, but do you actually want people to not be allowed to say it to other people?
Right. Yeah. Because of the internet, we now know what every comedian's bits are. They're offensive bits. And all these people that weren't at the show that don't like this comedian anyway, jump on Twitter and are so offended. It's like, well, you don't like this guy. You don't like his comedy. You didn't buy a ticket to the show. The people in the room were laughing at the joke. So screw you. Who cares what you think? Of course you didn't like it.
That's why I love that Cat Williams won't apologize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as soon as you apologize, it's almost like it gets worse for your career almost.
Oh, it absolutely does. And why? What are you apologizing for? It's a comedy club. It's where we tell jokes. Sometimes the joke don't land, but that don't mean it ain't a joke.
Yeah, that's why Michael was saying every comedian is different. Michael has his own style and his audience and what he's not meant to be doing what other comedians are doing. That's why we go to different comedian shows. And that's the beautiful thing about comedy. You can't kill comedy. Comedians are the only ones who can really tell the truth, and make people laugh. You got to be able to laugh at your pain.
They were doing an old Bernie Mac bit, by the way, which is it's that famous one where he says, "I ain't scared of you motherfuckers." Remember that one?
Oh, it's amazing big.
But what's so cool about that one is actually a lot of people don't know. Before he went out, that crowd was fucking vicious, and they tore like 3 people in a row up and had him leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came out, and he even said later in an interview that wasn't part of his original bit. Like the whole thing about like hit it, wah, 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 you know, like that was part of his bit. But the I ain't scared of you motherfuckers wasn't even part of it. He just told them straight out. He walked out and just looked at everybody, and they were all like, all right, let's do it to him too. Let's fuck this dude up. And he just go, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. And they all were like, all right, this guy's got some nuts on him. And it worked.
That's awesome. Bernie Mac was amazing.
I sometimes wonder what the value is in even having this kind of discussion, because I don't know that you'll find too many people that say that comedians shouldn't be allowed to say whatever they want to. They should be allowed to say whatever they want to. And
I think
there's a difference between, there's a difference between, yes, you can say anything you want. Nobody is going to stop you from doing it. You have the right to say it. It's your First Amendment. The rest of us don't have to find it funny. And we can, in turn, not find it funny and not give you our money. And like with Louis C.K., I personally think he should never go back to comedy. That's me, because I think what he did is... Oh, he's a great comedian.
He should still be able to make a living with people that want to buy a Louis C.K. ticket.
Why should his life be over? I don't think his life should be over. I don't think his life should be over. I think he can live.
One is what he loves.
Sure, I do want. I absolutely want his career to be over. Why? Because he did a horrendous, fucking shitty thing. It's not a mistake. He didn't make a mistake.
No, he can still learn to live it. That's bullshit.
Shawn, let her
listen. Have you? Can I just finish my thought here? So, I promise you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to agree with it. Nobody has to agree with me. Going back to that bit we just listened to where they said, looking for a college with rapeable chicks. I'm not saying that there's no funny rape jokes. I'm sure funny rape jokes exist. But if it weren't for the fact that at least a solid 50% of my female friends have been raped, and I know you hear 1 in 4, and it's much higher than 1 in 4. A fuck ton of us have been raped at some point. So when you hear somebody throwing it out there casually, like, hey, how many chicks are going to be there that I can rape? Like, it's an actual, real fucking huge problem. And it's not something that I think makes a great punchline. And Louis C.K. did something that it's very easy for everyone to go, well, all he did, he asked for consent. Well, have you ever been the woman in the room with the guy doing that? No. You're not a woman.
He wasn't wrong. No one's saying he wasn't wrong. Even Louis not saying he wasn't wrong.
It's the level on which he was wrong, I think, that we disagree on.
No.
You think he made a simple mistake?
No, I don't think it was a simple mistake. I think it was a very big deal, and it's over with. We've apologized and moved on. He's been punished. He had years of career taken away. He has the right to go sell tickets to people that want to go see, and you have the right to not go see.
Yes, he absolutely has a right to go see it. I guess maybe we're not even arguing on that point. He absolutely has a right to do it. I think it's an incredibly shitty taste, and I can't believe people are buying his ticket.
Would want to buy a Louis C.K. ticket.
I don't know anybody who would want to buy a Louis C.K. ticket.
I
don't care.
You do now.
Okay, so what am I? Okay, go see Louis C.K. Like, what's the huge consequence everybody's worried about?
He's a fucking awesome comedian.
That all think he's
one of the best
to
ever done it. One of the best to have ever done it. It doesn't discredit his work at all.
Doesn't make him
his body of work or his gift.
What about this? What about whenever he said he was talking about the people that were what was that school that was shot up? The most recent one. Jeez, there's so many.
Marjorie Stoneham Douglas.
Yeah, and he made some joke about like you're not a hero. You just pulled a fat kid in front of you that got shot instead of you. And I'm butchering the joke. But anyway, but still, like that. Are we supposed to be making fun of like victims of school shootings?
If that's what
you sure can.
Style. Yeah,
you sure can. But I think it's incredibly fucking distasteful. And again, why would you want? Why? What's the point of even doing it?
All you're really establishing is that this isn't your type of thing. You wouldn't like this style of comedy, this style of entertainment. So that's all we're really arguing about. It's you would turn the channel, I would.
Is there a committee of people out there who gives out a list to let comedians know what's not funny before they make the joke about it being funny or not?
No.
No,
there's not.
So we're all basically just feeling our way in the dark here. Comedians have to try something and then they see how people feel about it.
Exactly, and no one's allowed to do that anymore. And that was my point about the Louis C.K. bit, and that you're talking about the specific bit I was talking about at the beginning. That bit got leaked. He was trying out new material to see. Bobcat Goldthwait recently said at a show I was at, he said, "I only see the line in the rearview mirror. It's not until I'm over it that I know that I crossed it." And comics have to test where that line is. And because of the internet and cell phones and the ability to record a set now, suddenly he doesn't get to find out where the line is in front of a small crowd for him, which would be a huge crowd for me. But he doesn't get to find out where the line is anymore because that gets leaked. And then 1,000,001 people who already hated him are on the internet going, "What a terrible joke." Well, you hated this guy. You'd never go see him anyway. The joke wasn't for you. I'm not even saying that I'm necessarily disagreeing with you about Louis' problems in the past and what should be the punishment he pays. I'm just saying a comic has to be able to try out jokes in front of a crowd, see where the line is, and if it's going to get leaked, who cares what people that didn't like that comic anyway think of his material? It's irrelevant, but people suddenly think their opinion, "Oh my God, Louis C.K. said that. What a piece of shit." Well, you're not a fan of his, and you weren't at the show, and you didn't buy a ticket. That joke was for the people in the room. They may very well not laugh at that joke and go, "Oh, come on, dude." And then Louis makes a note to himself, "Oh, I went over the line. I got to dial that joke back or lose it altogether." But that is the process, and that process has to be preserved. We have to find a way of knowing where the line is.
If anybody else had been trying to find that line, if you or a different comedian were telling those exact same jokes, trying to find that line, I think you would get a different response, because part of the response is the person who was saying it. There's it's not just that we hate that joke. It's that that person did this thing and now they're joking about it. And it's different than, I feel like it goes back to the whole difference between why do you want to go out and just try to be an asshole? Why? You can, but
I can explain
It's
because
his entire fucking style, man.
we come from generations of people who fought world wars, and here we are being offended by some of the most minute things. And it's like, at what point do people have to realize that we live in a world where you will be offended? And as soon as you get used to being offended, the better you can navigate this harsh environment that we live in.
Amy, to your point, though, earlier, I thought you brought something up that was interesting, which is just like, we're all in agreement that comedians should be able to basically say whatever they want, but you don't have to listen to them. Like, we all have to figure out our own lines and our own, like, tastes. Like, some people think
that we think they shouldn't face consequences of any kind? Is that the argument? Like, we don't think they should get yelled at on Twitter?
I think some people do more than yell at them on Twitter. Like, they genuinely don't think that Louis C.K. should be allowed to do stand-up.
He doesn't.
Period.
No, I didn't say he shouldn't be allowed to do it.
Yes, you did. You said he should be allowed to do it, but nobody should go see it. Everyone that does should be shamed for it.
No, I said he shouldn't do it. He should be able. It's a free country. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. It's a free country.
Should he go work at Starbucks?
Sure.
No, but I feel like
Starbucks isn't the place where he was doing the things he was doing.
Imagine going into Starbucks.
He is amazing at.
Yeah, I mean, the man's life is built around comedy. He's known as a comedian. What else can he do?
He can masturbate in front of people.
Really? What else could he really?
Why should he have to do something else?
If he became an actor, would you be okay with him acting?
I don't give a shit. I thought he was hilarious before this happened. I was a fan of his. I thought he was very funny. Him doing the thing that he did made it so that I can't find him I just cannot find him funny, because all I can think about is that thing that he did and the fact that he's joking about it. So yes, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to waste my time shaming people who do watch it. That I'm not, like, I don't know how I would go about doing that. But I think it's fair to say that a lot of people are going to find what you're doing incredibly distasteful.
Similar to the way you tried to shame me for defending Louis C.K.
Well, hold on. To add the perspective that Amy's claiming, we might be disagreeing about whether his offense was bad enough to ruin him, but I don't think any of us here think Bill Cosby should have an HBO special coming out this next Sunday.
I would vote for his special.
Wait, he has a special?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
why not?
What
Why
you're
can't he have a
disagreeing
special?
with?
Seriously, after he serves his prison term, why can't Bill Cosby have a special?
raped like
Come on,
30
man.
women.
No,
I'm
you're-
sorry.
you're just-
No,
Tell
don't
the
watch
other
the
side.
thing, man. That's all. Just don't
Tell
watch
the other
it.
side of the story.
Hitler.
Tell the other side of the story. What else did Bill Cosby do? Bill Cosby did a lot of great things in his life as well. He saved lives. He put people through college. He was not just a rapist. You can't just reduce a person down to one aspect.
The
of
hell
his
you
life.
can't, Javier. Are you crazy?
Hold on. Can I say something, though? Because I feel like there should be societal repercussions for anything you do. No, there should be no legal ramifications, but there always should be. You said, should you be shamed for going to a Louis C.K. show? Sure, if your friends find it shameful. Like, should you be shamed for going to a Klan rally? Of course. That's
not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, but people have the right. Your friends have the right to say to you, why would you go see that fucking asshole? I'm disappointed in you. They have the right
but
to
if they
say
would
that.
stop being my friend over me liking Louis C.K., then I don't think we'll be friends anymore.
And there you go. That's your right.
fine.
Too.
Yeah, we can't. Freedom of expression is not freedom from consequence. So I agree with you 100%, Michael, that you can choose to do whatever you want, but there are going to be consequences to whatever you choose to do. The question is, do you care about those consequences? And that's what we get down to.
I think that's very true.
And I think we live in a world where the consequences very often don't match the offense. And Louis C.K. is one example. He's not an example. He's an example of maybe he's a famous person who did something and everybody weighed in on it. What about the unfamous person that said one stupid thing once? And because of the internet age that we live in, that thing goes out forever. And they never recover from it. I find that to be problematic because
That is awful. Yeah.
It's said a stupid thing for.
This is why the
Absolutely.
left. This is why people on the left need to get their people together. This is not a right problem. The cancel culture came from the left. So I expect y'all to get y'all shit together and talk to y'all peoples.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's let Amy finish out because we're all gentlemen, and then after Amy, I'm
Well,
gonna.
no,
I'm just trying to do
when
the
you
wrap
say
up.
they or the left, like, I don't have like a bat phone that I can call the other lefties on and tell them to get their shit together. Like, it's.
You knew what he meant, though, didn't you?
You got a platform. If you got a platform, you need to be speaking up about these things. And look, I try to criticize conservatives on my platform. That is what it's about. And I can only talk to people on the left and say, hey, you got a lot of people on your side that's doing things. And I'm not saying conservatives don't do things. What I'm saying is I ask y'all who are sensible to get your side together, because this cancel culture is destroying a lot of art. It's destroying the culture in a lot of aspects that we do appreciate, like comedy. So use your platforms to reach out and to change hearts and minds and let people understand that, there has to be consequences to your actions. But at what point does a person get to where they can come back into society and be a productive member of, that's what I'm saying.
And that's something I think we're all still trying to answer as a society, because this is still a fairly new thing where we have access to everything anybody's ever said. And it's a different world we live in. And I think we're trying to figure that out. What is the appropriate amount of time for, I guess, someone to be shamed and not in the public spotlight? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that part of it is, if you want to have people buy tickets to your comedy show and you did this horrible thing that most women find completely repellent and you haven't even done really anything to try to make up for it, then why should I be the one that is told, well, you're being unfair to him? Why are you being so unfair to him? Like, I'm not doing fucking anything to him, but I do think it's horrible what he's doing.
Unfair to him. To not wanting to be able to make a living is being unfair
He
to
can
him.
make a living doing it.
Okay, good.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
We're coming up with
anybody can get a job at Starbucks.
We're at the 1 hour mark.
Fuck you, man. He's a comic genius. He deserves to be on the stage.
Amy Withawhy, I Date Me, and Secular Soup Javier at the Javier Show. Mike Regilio, you can find him at michaelregiliocomedy.com and sorryabouteverything.com. Shawn Yankey from the Shawn Yankey Show. Emerson Green, Counter Apologetics. Guys, this got heated as fuck. It's a comedy show.
I gotta do this twice.
Oh, you had to do your tag. Thank you to Michael, Javier, Amy, Emerson, and Shawn. Thank you to Dave Blair at daveblairmusic.com. Thank you to our patrons. Alan Marks, Bernard Lamberell, Enema Man, Freethinker 215, Larry Wilson, Patrick Walsh, Tara, Phil Calderone, Philip Spawn, Gregoria, and Rob Montgomery. You can support this broadcast at patreon.com/right and learn more at therighttoreason.com. Thank you to feedspot.com for the top 10 atheist podcast classification. Find their link in today's show notes. FeedSpot is a fantastic resource for all your separation of church and state interests. Next week, we're covering some obscure and forgotten history about the American Revolution and the Civil War. Between now and then, remember that you have the right to reason.